Hey guys, what's up? It's Dan Reviews It. Merlin here as a guest today.
Hello.
And my name's Dan, and just basically heard this news about the new M. Night Shyamalan movie.
What news? Tell me.
Yeah, so I knew you were the guy to go to for this.
Okay.
We finally now are getting the... Listen, if you haven't seen Split yet, maybe this is not the video for you because
Spoilers.
it is going to be spoilery. But at the end of Split, we see, of course, Bruce Willis right there at the diner.
Yep.
And we're like, oh my god, what's happening? You know, is this Unbreakable connected? It is. And so he announced today that, yes indeed, like we're, as expected, the new movie is going to be called Glass.
Yes.
And it's going to be a melding of the two movies, Unbreakable and Split, which means that Willis is in it,
Mm-hmm.
Jackson's in it,
Mm-hmm.
McAvoy is in it,
Mm-hmm.
and then the girl, the big-eyed girl that played Morgan, Anya something or other, is also in it.
Great cast.
So it's everybody. So he was just being playful today on Twitter, and he said, the iconic Bruce Willis returns as David Dunn. Next tweet, the incomparable Samuel Jackson will return as Elijah Price, Mr. Glass. The virtuoso James McAvoy returns as Kevin Wendell Crumb, Patricia, Dennis, Hedwig, etc., etc., etc. And the prodigy here it is, Anya Taylor-Joy will return as Casey Cook. He said he's reteaming with the Universal for this new thriller, and the film is called Glass.
Now, I wonder who that could be about.
And he gives a release date of January 2019.
Okay, so a bit of time.
So a little bit of time, seemingly on the same weekend that Split premiered. Because that was like a mid-January release this year. Did obviously extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know you are, Unbreakable is your Shyamalan movie.
It really is.
Yeah. For me, Sixth Sense is always number one. But Unbreakable, you showed that to me again. I had seen it originally, but you showed it to me maybe 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot just how powerful it was.
It's a good movie.
It's a great
Very
movie.
good movie.
It is almost up there, right with the Sixth Sense for you, even further.
Yes.
What is it about that movie that speaks to you more than any of his others?
You know, it's kind of funny, and I'm really glad you brought me here for this, because actually, a couple days ago, On Demand, Unbreakable was there. I decided to throw it on again. So I actually
Perfect timing.
Watched it again recently, so it's fresh in my mind, and I just watched it, and it's funny. It is among one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I think it's a film that every time I come back to it, I'm never tired of it. Mm-hmm. I never go bored of it. And even though I could see a few minor issues, I still think that the power is there, and the detailed filmmaking is there, and the acting is there. I think it's some of Bruce Willis's best work.
Yeah.
I think
certainly in the recent 20 years or so.
20 years, post Die Hard and everything.
Right.
And I think for Shyamalan, it's up there in terms of writing and directing. It's just so detailed.
Mm-hmm.
You see his best stuff there right up with Sixth Sense, really when he was in his prime.
Yeah.
And
I have to admit, it is definitely more intricate than Sixth Sense.
Yes.
Sixth Sense has a great twist. It's got some cool visuals. The script is good. But Unbreakable definitely has a lot of layers to it that I think that movie maybe doesn't.
Yes, in fact, I was talking to somebody about this today. I think The Sixth Sense is an equally good movie, but there is one disadvantage I think that it has that Unbreakable doesn't, is that Sixth Sense is kind of made by the twist, whereas I think Unbreakable there's a bit more going on.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And no, really, also, I don't want to forget, I think that it's honestly one of my favorite Sam Jackson performances. Just, it's a character you don't see him typically play, but really, just really awesome. And, there's another couple obvious points, too. It's obviously a superhero story, and it's also kind of a love letter to comic books and the importance of superheroes.
Sure.
But, and it's kind of funny how he interweaves the comic book tropes into the story.
Right.
And I think it's a combination of that, but just the fact that it's such a well-executed drama in and of itself. But it's interesting, too, because it was really right at the beginning of the superhero boom.
It was. It was before even the first Spider-Man came out.
Before. It was like there with X-Men and Blade and Mystery Men, kind of at the beginning of interesting superhero films, kind of at the beginning of when it was starting to get big. Mm-hmm. And I think it's kind of important, but it kind of got swept up before everything else, so it's almost forgotten.
Yeah.
But anyone you talk to that's seen it knows it's a really good movie. Mm-hmm. And I remember reading years ago that Shyamalan had originally planned to make a trilogy following up with the story.
He did tweet about that as well. today about saying that this was his vision, for 18 years or whatever.
And personally, since it's my favorite Shyamalan movie, I always thought that would be really cool, but he decided to go these other directions, making all those other movies, which, as everyone knows, was mostly a pretty bad idea.
Right.
So it's really good to see him go back to a story that worked well for him. And with Split, we saw potential for him to be a good filmmaker in and of itself with Split, but the fact that it's connected to something he wanted to work on for years, I think shows really good potential. So, yeah, Unbreakable is a great movie, and to see a follow-up, I think it's awesome. And Split was really good, too.
Yeah, Split was definitely in the list of the Shyamalan movies, easily top 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an argument to be made that it's not.
I mean, I guess Signs...
Signs would be the other one.
What about The Visit? I remember we kind of liked The Visit.
Yeah, The Visit's okay.
Okay.
The Visit was good because it wasn't The Happening and
Lady in the Water. The Village.
The Village, yes, thank you.
It wasn't The Village.
It wasn't The Village. It wasn't The Happening. It wasn't Last Airbender.
Oh, God. After Earth.
But I think we still gave Visit an average grade.
I think we were
C pluses.
Yeah.
Ish.
We were happy it just didn't suck.
Right. So in terms of that, yeah, it's good. But no, Split's definitely
much better.
Way above that. As is Signs, Unbreakable, Sixth Sense.
Yes.
Those are the 4.
Good ones he did.
Good luck arguing that there's a different one in the mix.
It's kind of funny because that's the thing about Shyamalan. I remember we talked a lot about him and whether or not he kind of held a place, and it feels like he made a lot of bad movies, but when he makes a good movie, he makes a great movie.
Right.
So he has no real medium here.
No, it's true. It's true. And he picked a great person for that role with the multiple personalities.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, James McAvoy really did an incredible job with all these different characters. A lot of times, like we said when we reviewed it, within seconds of each other sometimes,
Yeah.
And so I'm definitely curious to see how it ties in. But the question is...
Okay.
Or another question is, I guess I should say, the whole waiting 18 years thing. Okay, so maybe it wasn't the Shyamalan plan.
No.
But, for these characters... Maybe it makes sense. Maybe it makes sense that Willis is, this older person now, wiser person now. Or am I remembering incorrectly? And does Split take place in the past? I don't think it does.
No.
Right? Because they're at the mall. They're on cell phones at some point, right?
And the scene he does explicitly say, they were mentioning that Mr. Glass incident on the news from years ago.
You're right.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what happened.
That's what I thought. So, I mean, so they're blending it together, but, if he wanted to do this 18 years ago and didn't,
Make it work.
Yeah, is it timed right now, or maybe should he have done it 10 years ago?
That's a very fair point that I'm glad you brought up. I kind of wish he had embraced it, and worked on it then, because it would have made more sense probably with the whole arc he had of the origin and then the rise and then the fall or possibly death of the hero, which was the arc he was planning to go through.
Right.
So...
And McAvoy still could have done it. I mean, he was acting 10 years ago.
Yeah, McAvoy could have done it if he wanted to, but you're right. Obviously, a little bit of time has gone past. And I know Willis is a bit older, but thankfully, with the abilities he has as the David Dunn character, he could still be invulnerable.
That is very true.
And work around the physicality of it. And Mr. Glass, Jackson doesn't have to do much except sit there and be menacing, probably.
Right.
So there's definitely potential for these characters. I would like to see them go further. I think there's a lot of potential. For both of them, absolutely. But has it been too long? That is a question. And will it blend smoothly with the Split story, which apparently was an idea that he had to, but combining them, I could have easily seen Split being its own thing that just happened to work well.
Yeah. Well, and I thought it was going to be until that end scene. But I will admit, a lot of people, because like you said, Unbreakable was sort of, in this wave of kind of forgotten movies. I knew a lot of people when the twist was revealed didn't even realize. There was somebody in front of me at the theater who was not a young dude. He was probably in his late 20s, early 30s.
Like, what?
He would have been of Unbreakable age, and I had to explain to him.
Yeah, I know that Unbreakable. It's kind of funny because it does seem to get swept up with the conversation because you have the Sixth Sense, which everyone remembers,
right?
And then you had Unbreakable, which was good, but a lot of people thought it was very similar to the Sixth Sense. And then pretty much a lot of controversy and then just bad things
Right.
almost immediately afterward that everyone focuses on. So maybe that's one reason why. I'm not entirely sure. But the thing is,
But people will go back now and watch it.
people will go back now and watch it, and people are curious, like, oh, this is a hint. I don't understand this.
Mhm.
If they're building it upon a Marvel kind of model,
Yeah.
oh, this is part of a franchise. Let's learn more. Let's be part of a fandom because everything has to emulate that now.
Right.
But at the same time, Unbreakable has a strong cult following.
It does.
Even though it's not the best known movie, it's still pretty well known, I guess. 'Cause
Right.
I'll tell you, Dan. I mean, for me, you said you weren't entirely sure as the scene was going on. They cut to McAvoy, and then they cue this music, which I remember being the Mr. Glass theme.
Yeah, you knew.
And I was like, wait a minute, this is Unbreakable, and I'm thinking, whoa. So I was getting excited and really
Yeah.
hyper from that point. So I guess it must speak to enough fans that have enough passion to it that there is something there.
I think people were definitely excited that knew. But Split was such a success. I definitely think there's a lot of people that saw it that just went right over their heads, you
True.
know. But one thing somebody pointed out to me after the fact was that if you look at the poster for Split, with the way that the glass is broken, it mirrors, the Unbreakable poster. And
So if
God,
you-
what a
What
stroke
detail.
of genius that nobody even
Really thought about it.
right, nobody even thought about it.
But you're right. That's
But-
the original poster
yeah,
for
like-
Unbreakable is with the glass,
Yeah.
and it seems so obvious, but literally nobody thought
Right,
about
it seems so obvious, but like you said, because it's been so long, because
Well,
that movie's not
and-
necessarily talked about.
And think about it, though. Shyamalan kind of used his damaged reputation to his advantage because, these days in Hollywood, it's virtually impossible to keep a secret. But you
That's
can
very
tell
true.
they probably just had Willis there in a diner in Philly,
Right.
said, let's shoot this one scene,
Right.
after filming's done, shoot it in there, and it was a complete surprise. There was
Yeah.
nary a mention of this.
And I think that's awesome.
And I think that's one of the things that got people buzzing, and it's almost
Yeah.
like a secret. So there's definitely something that's kind of brilliant about the marketing there that I have to give them credit for.
Yeah, I agree. It was, Universal has been on fire with that stuff. Obviously the purveyors of the Fast and Furious franchise and Pitch Perfect. They're making these franchises out of the little movies that could.
Yeah.
Universal, Jurassic World. Who thought 20 years after the original or more, I guess.
Yeah.
After the third one was so god awful. That they would have one of the biggest hits of the year with that one. Their marketing team really is very good at this kind of stuff.
Definitely.
And I think Shyamalan in his own right is very smart about it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously no stranger, keeping things close to the vest.
No, he really does.
Yeah, so, all right, well, good. I'm glad you're excited about it.
Yeah.
You're the person I thought of instantly when I read the news.
Why, thank you. There's always the possibility, is it too late? But since Split was really good and it's something he knows, I think there's a good possibility for another great movie.
Yeah, let's hope. We'll see you in January of 2019.
Yeah.
So that's it for this edition of Dan Reviews It. Thanks, Merlin, for your help.
No problem.
And subscribe and like and comment and all that jazz. Check out Merlin's channel as well, of course, Merlin Reviews.
Of course.
And we'll see you next time.
See ya.